Today on Dylan Talks Tone, we're going to talk about neck shims. So, neck shims can be a pretty taboo subject in the bolt-on guitar world. You'll talk to people and they'll say, if I put a shim in there, it's going to completely ruin my tone, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're going to talk about, first of all, why you would even need one or why you would consider putting a shim in the neck pocket of your bolt-on guitar. In a Fender style guitar like a Tele or a Strat, you have no neck angle whatsoever. It's completely flat. Since the string has to move in an arc, obviously we put some relief into the neck to give that some room. Sometimes, depending on the height of the frets, the height of the fretboard off the surface of the guitar, so like how high the neck sticks up out of the pocket, the type of saddles, sometimes to get everything right, your action ends up being a little bit higher than you want, and it would be nice to have a little bit of neck angle in there to bring everything kind of back down to where you want it. It's not always necessary, but in a lot of cases, depending on the hardware that you're working with, a couple of degrees of neck angle can make all the difference in the world for making a Tele or a Strat style guitar play a lot better. And a lot of people get really afraid of putting shims in there to make this happen. Let's talk about why it's no big deal. We have another video. We'll put the little tab thing up here somewhere where you can click that. And it talks about how tight the bolts should be when you put a bolt-on neck onto a guitar. It's really just for this thing to make contact. There's no need for it to be super torqued down, for it to be like really, really tight, for there to be tons of pounds of pressure between there. Because here's the objection we get. If I put a shim in here and then I tighten it down, it's going to stress the neck, there's going to be a gap in there, it's not going to be even. It's all basically kind of baloney if you put the neck on correctly and you don't over tighten it. So watch that other video. We're really only talking about contact here. We're not talking about tons of torque to put this thing together. Well, people are going to say, well, you're going to lose contact if we put a shim right here in the back of the pocket. Okay, I'm going to put a shim right here, then this is not going to have any contact in here. You might be right by a couple of thousandths of an inch. In fact, I know exactly how many thousandths with that shim. The thing is that if that tension is not overdone, if it's put on there properly, like we just talked about, then the pressure is not really going to change over the contact points. So from here and here. Now here's the interesting part. We've done a lot of testing. You take wax, put it in between here, put it in between here, and you tighten down a neck to the body so that it makes contact and you can see how much it squishes on all 4 points. Do you know that if you do that with a shim in here, it doesn't change all that much, if any at all? And it's because we're not over torquing it. All we want is contact. So the other objection is, well, if I put a piece of paper in there, I've told people to use like a piece of a Coke bottle, a Coke box, like what you get a 12-pack of Coke in. And they say, well, it's going to expand and contract. My guitar is going to move around. It's a cellulose material. The guitar is moving and expanding and contracting. If that shim expands and contracts a little bit, I doubt you'll even ever be able to tell the difference. Fender, Taylor are two big brands that use cellulose-based, either paper or wood-based shims in their neck pockets, and they don't have any issue. Okay, they've been doing it for decades this way. I actually like to use a piece of carbon fiber. I get this in a particular thickness. I trim it down, and I cut it small enough so that it goes behind the two back bolts. Okay, so you can see it sitting in there. It's behind the two back bolts. It fits in there nice. I just cut it with scissors. And it doesn't expand and contract, and one layer of this will give me about a degree and a half or 2 degrees of neck angle. And when I put that on, and you go back to that other video and you see how we tighten it so that we don't over tighten it, everything works. You got to be a little more careful when you do like a Bigsby or something, like a B16 Bigsby on a Tele. You got to have about 6 degrees. So we actually cut the neck pocket so that we don't have such a tall shim in there. For that one to work. Now people are going to say, yeah, but I played a guitar with a shim in it and I could tell the difference and the tone just wasn't there. No, you couldn't. I would challenge you. You could come to my shop. I will put a guitar in your hands and you will play it and then I will put another guitar in your hands and you will play it. Maybe I will blindfold you. I don't know. But I challenge you to come here and let me give you a shim test. You will not be able to tell the difference between having a shim in that neck pocket or not. I know a lot of people claim that they've heard or seen a difference, but really when put to it, you won't be able to tell the difference. The only time you know the difference is when somebody told you it's in there and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I think I can, I don't know, it doesn't have the tone it used to have. But that happens with a lot of this kind of cork sniffy kind of stuff. So, the bottom line is, do you want the guitar playable? Do you want the interaction that you have with your hands to be right? That's where your tone's at. Do you want the thing to play properly to get the best tone out of the guitar, or do you want to worry about the tone that you would lose if you put a shim in it? That's really what it comes down to. My name is Dylan. This has been Dylan Talks Tone. If you have any questions about anything like this or anything else to do with electric or acoustic guitars or amps or pedals or anything, let me know. And we will talk to you soon.